I'm Tobias from Australis, and welcome to Thorin's YouTube channel. It's a joke-free zone.
Right, I'm here for another episode of Talk to Thorin, and on this episode, I've got acoR from GamerLegion, who obviously recently just qualified to the RMR from the RMR to the IEM Rio Major, technically. So the way I wanted to start off acoR in this interview is a piece of trivia that I looked up ages ago, but a lot of people have seemed to have forgotten this piece of information. It's quite a cool little backstory. So there's two details a lot of people don't seem to fully understand about your career. If I asked them, like, where does acoR come from? What type of player he is? They would all say he was in Mad Lions and he is an AWPer. But actually, obviously, both those details have a different backstory. So let's start at the beginning, which is you were actually on North Academy team, which if people don't remember, in the same way as once upon a time Astralis had a bunch of, like, the people behind Astralis had like heroic and gods and a bunch of different orgs, and the idea was people were trying to make feeder teams. Way before there was the We Play Academy League, North, obviously, who was sponsored by owned by FC Copenhagen, if people don't know, had an academy squad and were also trying to like develop talent. Obviously now that's a big thing. It's just back then the problem obviously was you sort of play in the same qualifiers, and so eventually Valve and other people said that you can't do that basically in case there's match fixing or whatever, you know, which at the time might have seemed crazy, but I can't really blame them now when you see about all the crazy stuff that's going on in CS. So what I would ask initially was, how did you get involved with the North Academy team? Like, because one thing that's interesting people don't know is you actually aren't like some super young player or anything. Like at the time, wouldn't you have been like almost the kind of same age normal players were?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I came in like a bit late compared to other like young prospector talents. But the way we got in contact with North is I played in eFuture, or like Team 123, whatever you call it, in eFuture, and then one of our players got contacted by one of the North management players, not players, but like North management, and basically got in contact with them and set up the team really, really fast. And yeah, I was a rifler before, so I started AWPing in 2019 when I joined Tricked, and we picked up HUNDEN after that. Then I started AWPing because we basically kicked the AWPer after I joined, and then there was no more else. We kind of talked on the team about it, and we were not sure who to pick as an AWP, and I just said like I can AWP if you want, and then that's how it all started.
Yeah, because that's the other detail. It's a bit surprising. It's a bit like I've heard it's the same apparently with like Mantu from OG, that he didn't ever used to be an AWPer. He just did it when he came to OG or something, like in an alternate attacks or something. He was just a rifler. So this story, I remember someone claiming it was because in North Academy you also had Mertz, who actually, funnily enough, might be coming back now. Is that the reason why you never did it before? Were you really just a player who never thought about AWPing?
I mean, I was a second AWP on North Academy, and I did feel like I wanted to AWP, but like Mertz was AWPing, and he was really, really good at the point. So there's no way I could like take his spot or anything. So I did start AWPing after Mertz joined the main team, and we had like a few small tournaments before they shut down the team. But yeah, I definitely wanted to AWP before that as well.
Because that was the reason why I was surprised by you telling that story that way. Because whenever anyone's seen you AWP, one of the things that's quite famous, it's actually probably what caused a lot of the pressure in your career and maybe caused some of the hard times, is if you watch like the POV of acoR playing, even back when you started AWPing, you have some of like the most fluid AWP mechanics of probably any player. Like you look like you were just born to be an AWP. You should have been doing it your whole career, right?
Yeah, I mean, it feels natural to me. And the thing that kind of the movement and like AWPing feels natural, but I still have a lot of like the support mentality from being a rifler beforehand. Sometimes it fucks me up, but I feel like in like the last year or so, I feel like I've like kind of fixed it somehow. Like not fixed it, but like definitely toned it down a little bit and like playing more for myself, if you can say it like that, as you should as an AWPer. So yeah.
By the way, just as a quick aside, I remember a detail Potter told me when we were doing Flashpoint 2, I think it was, which was because she knows all like super nerdy stuff from the old school and Counter-Strike. She told me something like one of the reasons that you can do all these like weird movements is because you do that thing where you use like the arrow keys or something to like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like that weird setup. What is she? It's like where you hold the angle, but you like turn using them or something. Explain what the premise was again.
So back in Source, I played Source mostly. I did play a bit of 1.6 just to try it out, but mostly I came from Source. And I played a lot of movement maps like B-Hub, KSIT, all of that. And what I did a lot back then was like I have keybinds to turn in game. So I would press V to turn left or C to turn right, and I know it's like opposite, but yeah. So when I was moving in game, I would just get used to just like running around, like turning with my keybinds to actually run around, and I don't do it anymore. But like I did have it before.
Okay, and is that just something that you like? Because if you're playing those maps, that's that part of why you got such good movement. You just drilled all this stuff and tried to make it fluid.
I think it's something like I've played it so much, and it's just like in my nature. It's like the way of my just the way I move my mouse and stuff. It's just everything is just back from like the movement from like all those weird maps that I played on and time I spent on Source.
Because I actually think that's like look, obviously these are minor details we're talking about that are tiny at 0.01% in the game. But at the same time, if you do a role like AWP, which can be so binary, like you either hit them or you don't, you either win the duel or you don't. I've actually always thought some of those elements are pretty underrated, because if you're an AWPer, for example, if you just take like a normal, like really standard peek into a guy, or you don't know how to jiggle peek the corner, or even a classic one is you don't even know how to do a proper strafe jump over dust too to get past the smoke or whatever. Like these things actually, every now and then that'll be a death. That'll be one less kill or something, right?
I definitely feel like I have advantage a lot of times when like I have a duel against someone and I can use my movement. I can figure out a plan in my head and just like use my movement to like kind of fuck up their aim before I like actually pick them, and a lot of times it works really good. And yeah, the way that you have to jiggle, like I see a lot of people, they when they have like if you meet an AWP that's holding an angle against you and you want to peek him, a lot of people actually try to jiggle him, and that way is like it's really easy for an AWP to just kill you like that. So in my head, and what actually is hard for me to hit is a guy like jumping on the corner, like jiggle peek, if you know what I mean. And I don't see a lot of people using that. Definitely, like people are using it, but like not a lot of people. So if you want to fuck up an AWP like holding an angle on you, you just need to jump around the corner, and like not all the way, but like jiggle in,
like
in
slightly and then come back.
Yeah.
So he tries to because he's going to try and track you as you go, I assume, and then he misses when you go back. Right, I see what you mean. Okay, instead of just going the corner its own without jumping, you mean?
That's kind of what you expect when you're holding the angle. So yeah.
Oh no, the joke is, I think half the people who try to jiggle peek a corner as a rifler just get fucked up by watching like Nico or something saying, mate, he has like the best aim in the world. Like he doesn't miss when he does that. You know, if you try to do it 3 times, you're gonna get killed.
He's so fast. Even just like white peek in the corner, you just get one tapped. Like
exactly. One thing that's weird to me as well is when I watched your POVs as the AWPer, right? Another thing you have is really nice, like, but fluid flicks. It's not like the simple flick where it does look like he's cheating. He just like snaps on the guy and just kills him. And you're like, what is it, cheat guy? But you know it's simple, so you're like, whatever. Yours are like the really fluid ones that just go to the guy, right? What's weird about that is I've noticed a lot of people who were secondary AWPers in Counter-Strike are actually the really good, like, headshot aim riflers. People like Bit and stuff can actually be pretty good when they use it, you know. But as a result, that's when I go the other way with the logic. How were you playing as like a support player when you were a rifler? You should be like a star player or entry or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just a bit laid back and like not taking as much initiative, and we had like 2, at least in North Academy, we had like 2 older and more experienced players than me. So I was just kind of laid back and just following the team and like just filling in what needs to be filled in and then doing my job. So that way you don't really get to like be the star player, like, or at least get to like play the good positions and yeah, get in the spotlight, if you want to call it that. What
you obviously have talked about yourself at the beginning of this interview is like a main topic that's kind of, I would say, haunted your career since you got to the Mad Lions level. Because once you got to that level, I would say it's like low tier 1. People were ready, especially when they watch people like you, Bobski, maybe Shush eventually. Like some of these players, it's obvious they were going to go to the top, and they were going to be in the best Danish teams, in the HooXi and the Astralises of the world, and be potentially very good players. So a lot of people, the discussion with you was, essentially, like, you're a good AWPer, people can watch the skills, but yeah, it's like, how are you actually going to become a star player? Now, you said it yourself there, maybe you had too much like a support mindset. What I want to ask was this. I can see it going both ways depending on what your in-game leaders like. Some in-game leaders, if they have like a system play, sometimes they do want the AWPer to just like sit in this spot that I say here. I know that you're covering this angle, and then I can sort of like take that out of the equation. I can think about this over here or the entry pack. Some IGLs might want the AWPer to be just do whatever he wants, and then they just work around him or something. Is there a reason why it took so many different teams for you to kind of figure out how you could get the most out of your game? Because in some teams it looked good and some teams it didn't. And I noticed people tended to either flame or praise your IGL as a result.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say because when I have, because I haven't been an AWPer for a long time. If like, I don't think 3 years is a long time as an AWP. But I did feel like it took way too long for me to actually figure out how to play, like how, like I think I was like too young in my mind, or like mentally, to actually like take a lot of initiative and come up with plans and like the way you read the game and like pull your teammates into your plans and stuff and take initiative. That way, I think I was too slow in general of like coming up with all of that. So I won't say wasted years, but like I would definitely say that wasted
Opportunities, maybe.
Opportunities, yeah.
To me, look, it's never wasted if you learn from it and you actually do get the lesson done. And like maybe now you'll have an amazing career and you'll look back and you'll be glad you went through all that to get to where you are, right?
Yeah, you can say that. I definitely still have time to like do some great things in CS.
Does that mean in terms of your personality? Because I've often thought it's a funny thing if you're a fan at home, but if you actually see people's personality in interviews, aside from the people who are just really fake and a bit good at acting like it, oftentimes like people's character is kind of a little bit like their playing style. Like, guess what? You can imagine, Simple is a bit of an aggressive guy who just says whatever the fuck he wants. You can imagine Nico is like sort of just laid back, but at the same time he knows he's the best. They kind of do have a lot of the same. So does this mean in real life, are you just too nice a guy? Were you a bit of a walkover?
Probably. Like I've been told that before. I've been a pretty nice guy, but yeah, I'm generally laid back, like a lot laid back, and just I don't mind stuff. I anything is annoying, I'll just like brush it away, and yeah. So I'm probably too much of a nice guy a lot of times, but yeah.
Because the reason, actually, I think it's interesting that you would describe it as like knowing when to take initiative and you have the plan and bring other people in. That's a way better way to describe it to me than like other people use like just like simple terms, or just not confident or whatever. It's like, here's the thing. If you have your skill set, you must be confident. You must think like, when I take these shots, I mean, you hit them all the time. You just think like, obviously I can win these duels. It's more about like how you see yourself in the round and the team and stuff, right?
Yeah, I feel like right now on GamerLegion, for some reason, at least when we played like all the good teams in the RMR tournament here, like I was having I could read whatever they did. Like for some reason, I just had the right read every round, and I was just calling stakes every round by round all the time, and mid round calls, and like I was really feeling it individually. So I was just peak, like I would just take the peak and just kill the guy, and I had so much confidence going into the games. And when I read the game like I do right now, then that boosts my confidence as well, because you're gonna go into whatever advantage you're gonna go into every situation knowing or having a really, really good idea of what they're gonna do.
When you were on North Academy, one little detail I want to ask about was that was actually also the starting place in CSGO of a very legendary in-game leader who became a coach there, which is Ave, who obviously later coached Astralis, etc. And if people don't know, he's like one of the greatest 1.6 in-game leaders of all time. Like, I know this was like his first coaching gig, so I think he himself would probably admit he wasn't super up to date on CSGO stuff. Is there anything you can tell me about him from the time underneath him as a coach?
I mean, we're talking about Ave, right?
Yeah.
He did come in. When he joined North Academy with us, he was really outdated. Like he hadn't followed CS for a long time. When he came in, he just came from like a full-time developer job, like doing like developing stuff for like the airports and stuff. So he came into the coaching role, like having to learn a lot of stuff, like how you play CS nowadays and how you do stuff. He was really, really good analytically, like taking demos and like seeing what people do and like coming up with a plan or stuff. That's what he was really, really good about. He was also really laid back as well, so he wasn't really like that kind of coach where you see like Sonic, he's standing behind them and like yelling, or like you see him like hyping up the team and stuff. Where Ave was more like chill and laid back, and you know like if something was wrong, he would tell you, but like it was still laid back type. So yeah.
When you say that, like being able to go through a demo and break down, like, here's what you could have done or what you do differently, is that something you do personally?
I don't do it as much as I probably should. Yeah, so I can read demos and like do it, but right now I don't want to. For now, at least, I'm in a good period, I think, and I don't want to I'm still gonna watch demos on the teams and stuff, but I'm not gonna go and watch like 10 demos a day and break down every single small detail there is. I'm just gonna play my game and yeah, that's it.
Oh, fair enough. By the way, I'm putting you on the spot there, but I'll just tell fans.
Yeah, that's fine.
The majority of pro players do not ever watch demos. Like the joke is like they get the IGL, the coach does that, and then maybe they watch a team demo with you before the match. But most people don't do that. I was asking that query specifically just to see if you did. The other thing I would ask is this: when you then came to the trick in the Mad Lions teams. Look, I know now it's almost like Voldemort. We're not supposed to say HUNDEN's name in case like, oh my god, but like he did do a lot of great things in the scene, and he obviously was a brilliant fucking leader, especially at that level, that particular level of like top of tier 2, bottom of tier 1. That's basically where he's been his whole career. He is like give me your take on it. Like, what are the strengths of HUNDEN? I've heard he is like a good talent scout. He sort of knows how to put people in roles and stuff.
I think HUNDEN is like he's really individually he's not that good. I mean, if
of course, he even knows it himself, mate. Yeah,
that's how Ingame leaders is. That you like they put all the time in the team instead of themselves. So it's obvious. But he did have a lot of insight in all like this small like all the sub tier teams in Denmark and all the other like teams, and he would have a lot of information on them, and he would talk to a lot of people, like always like getting information from all the teams. And in general, when he was like not coaching, when he was when we were playing a game, for example, like a practice game, he would. I started All-Wing 2019 with him, so I had like I was learning a lot from him. He was learning me a lot, and every time we practice, he was like, he was focused a lot on me because I was new in my role, and let's say I fucked up a round or something, and he would like, instead of saying you should have done this, you should have why didn't you do that and stuff, he was like, or like what could you have done instead? And like I would come up with like different solutions, and he was like, yeah, that probably sounds pretty good. Try and do that next time, and then see what happens. And then that way you kind of learn yourself, and like also put your like you also. It trains your mind to actually think about it yourself instead of just being like autopilot and then just playing. Yeah.
So obviously in Mad Lions, the big result was winning Flashpoint, which even though now it'll seem like a meme because people are like, there's no top 10 teams there and all that. Like, here's the thing, guys, if you're at home, you can't simultaneously hate on me and tell me Fallen and Fear and all those guys are still amazing, but then go... Flashpoint, there was no good in it. They lost that. They were in the finals versus like acoR Mad Lions. Right, here's my quick question for you. I actually think, because I watched every match of that tournament, obviously, I actually think from watching all the games, Mad Lions was the best team in the whole tournament. Like, obviously, in the groups, you were amazing, and like the rest of it. But what happened was, in the upper bracket, obviously, like, they are legendary players, and if you notice, one of the things you even see this in the American RMR, if you ever watched them or the last major, they might not be top players anymore, but because they used to be the best and they have that sort of like, they know how to play under pressure. I think their strength that they have, that a lot of veteran players have, is if they notice the other person's a bit inexperienced or getting a bit nervous, they know how to like abuse that. So for like, obviously people like Fur, they'll just do some crazy push that you're not waiting for, and then Fallen will just like mind game people in a 1v2, so they just keep coming into his crosshair. It's amazing. I have to say they're really good at it. So my question is this: when they beat you, I know a lot of people think this was going to happen in the final too, and quite frankly, they almost were winning that final. Like that train game was one of the most crazy comebacks I've ever seen. So what would you say it was like matching up against these guys? Because it does seem like they certainly could have won the tournament, but there's also a world where maybe you guys could have just beaten them both the first time and there would never be a problem.
It was definitely like a really weird final. We actually played MIBR earlier. I think earlier, half a year ago, at that point from Flashpoint, we actually beat them in semifinal in the V4 tournament.
Right.
Actually went on to win the whole tournament. So we played them before, but I feel like the Flashpoint tournament, we came into the final and we lost. I think we lost the first game or something, and then we went on to win the second game, and then Train was third. And I mean, we were down 11-4 on or like 4-11 on our CT side to Train, and coming or like 12-3 on our CT side, coming into T side with 3 rounds. That's really rough on like the last map in the grand final. And I mean, I don't know if we even believed it ourselves, but like we had so many weird rounds and like ninja diffuses, like
yes,
1v4, 2v4 ninja diffuses, and like it was such a weird game. And I feel like, I mean, they definitely had the experience on us, and we could definitely feel it. But at the same time, they they feel like it felt like a dysfunctional team. Like it felt like they weren't talking together like enough, and it was such a weird game to play. Like just winning round after round that we shouldn't win, and then you're like, all of a sudden you're like, okay, maybe we can actually win the game, and then you just keep on going, and then you end up winning the game somehow. I have no clue how we ended up winning that.
It's even one of those games where I've always tried to. I'll probably do like a video one day where I do like a breakdown, because I always think like fans just look at the scoreboard and they'll think silly things like, "Oh, you're just doing a big CT comeback." And it's like, no, you have to realize in this particular game, that was even one of the games where like the economy was just fucking you every round. Because imagine if you do like a 1v3 ninja defuse, you have no guns left. You have to have like a farmhouse and an MP9, and then maybe you have like a scout or something. Like these rounds you're not supposed to win. If the teams keep doing that, they just win the game eventually. Normally, like it must have been some out of a movie. Right, we just kept somehow winning no matter what happened.
Yeah, it was like you're just running around in your like own like part of the map, and then all of a sudden like two people dead, and then okay, then what do we do now? Then we go in and execute, and then win the round somehow. And then next round you're like we all die instantly, and one guy's left, and like bomb is planted, and somehow he wins the round, or yeah, I don't know. It was such a weird game, and it's weird. Yeah.
What was it like where, even though, look, this was obviously one of the tournaments where we first went online, and it wasn't like a big LAN like Flashport was planned to be in a stadium and all that jazz. So it wasn't like quite as cool as being at like a big LAN now. But at the same time, like people forget the prize money for that tournament was mental. Like I think first place was like $500,000 or something, like a major. Yeah. So like that must have been wild in itself, right? To actually suddenly go from being like I'm in tier 2 trying to win DreamHack Open and losing the final or whatever to like I've just won 50k myself.
Yeah, that was pretty. Like the prize pool was pretty insane, and also like the whole tournament was kind of weird, because it was when COVID came up. I think we just landed in LA, and a couple of days later, everything just shut down. We could barely leave we were staying at Airbnb in LA, and we could barely leave the house to get like groceries and stuff.
I mean, there's nothing to do, right? There's no restaurants. Yeah, you could go to maybe like a supermarket. That's about it, though. Yeah. What did you guys actually do? Because there's the thing people don't know. Because you weren't all at home like later on in the online period. Like you say, you were in LA, but you were just trapped in like the house or whatever that you were in. What did you actually do to pass the time? Because the other thing is, Flashpoint lasted like a month or something. It wasn't like a 1 week tournament. So what were you guys doing when you weren't playing the game?
We were in LA for like, I think we were in LA for 42 days. So stuck in the house. But I think we had a really, really like huge house mentioned like to stay in. And I think we had 10 rooms, and we had everything. Like we had a big pool. We had a like, what do you call it? Pool table, and like a normal pool, and a hot tub, and like everything. And so we were just like chilling. Like as soon as practice was done, we were chilling and talking about the game. Like it was basically wake up 9, 10, whatever, then practice, and done at 8 in the night or something. And then even though we were done in practice, we were just like still running, like going about your day, like playing pool, but like still talking about some practice game. And then like, so basically like 42 days just living CS for 42 days, and because you couldn't do anything else. One good part is like we did have a gym in the we had a gym in the Airbnb. So I started going like being in the gym like 1 or 2 times a day, even because there was just nothing to do. So sometimes I would just take a break and just go for like a gym for like 45 minutes, and in the morning, and then also in the night as well. So I think I ended up putting like 7 kilos on in like 42 days.
Okay.
So yeah, it was actually pretty cool house. And the tournament, yeah.
The one thing that must also be whack is like when you win, you can't really celebrate, can you? You're just still in the house. Like, there's nothing you can really do.
Yeah, I mean, winning the tournament was kind of weird, because you were just like we were playing in like the living room of the house, and you're like, okay, we just won 500k, and like, okay, then what do we do now? It's just we still stuck here. It's like, yeah, so it was kind of weird to win the tournament without like not being in a like a big stadium or like a stage or something. So kind of weird, yeah.
Right, even though obviously I don't want to spend a long time on it, since your team was obviously the team where HUNDEN did the coach bug exploit, although if people go back and look, the problem with that whole topic is there wasn't that many coaches that did it loads or whatever. Like, I think he did it for like 2 maps or 2 games or something, you know. So obviously the big question people always had, it's why people tortured the heroic players, was like, well, you guys must have known he was doing it, or like maybe he come to you and he was like telling you. But the part I've always said is this: that would maybe make sense if it was one, like, put it this way, I'll give you an example. If Dead from MIBR had actually said something, then a player might know, right? Because he's not like a super tactical coach, he was just like a manager. But HUNDEN was also a former IGL, so the problem is, right, unless he literally just said something mad, like, it's behind that wall that you're just looking at, like, unless he said that, you wouldn't know, right? If he just said something, like, maybe they go in here or whatever, like, he is a coach, he's making calls anyway, like, you couldn't really have known anything. I mean, assuming you knew nothing, right?
I mean, it's really hard to like comment on like that case, because I have no idea how they were doing stuff. Like I know Heroic has offices in Copenhagen, and if they're all bootcamping the same office and HUNDEN is there, all of them, then like could probably have watched, like, seen his monitor maybe. Then I don't know. But also, like, yeah, as you say, unless he's like really like just saying like, okay, one guy's standing on first box and like rounder started or something, right? Then he could definitely pull it off, or like just giving normal info, like saying, guys, I think we should go be here, or like do like beep pop or something, because yeah, I have a read or something. Like you can really say anything about, like, talk about it without having like actually been there, because it's really hard to actually say what's been going on.
Sure. Okay, one other thing I want to know is, when the team went online now and had all these online tournaments, right? Part of me thinks, like, I know it's fucked up, but part of me sort of thinks we should all just pretend that whole period never happened. Because I just look at some of the teams that got to like #1 in the world, and I look at some of the really amazing players that just did nothing for a year and then came back when LAN happened and they got really good again. Like, how do you actually look at the online period? Should it count? Does it count for you? Did you care during that time period? Were you motivated? What was it like?
I mean, I always preferred like playing on stages and like LANs, because I just feel like I'm more in the zone, and you're like your mind is more like in the place, because at home you have like stuff that like that might actually take your attention, and like if you have a dog, like dog is barking or whatever, like you don't have that at stage, like you're just fully zoned in, and like you just only care about the game. So playing on a stage is, or like a tournament, is like 10 times better. But in the online period, I still feel like if you want to be the best, then you have to be good online. You have to be good on LAN, and then if you're only good on LAN, then like, I mean, even though LAN is like the thing that people are like always going by, then I still think like online is like. I mean, I think Heroic had a good period online as well. They won. I think they won probably maybe online. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, some teams are really good online because they have no pressure and just sit at home. They might have like I don't know, like they might get like a lot of like ancients on LANs and stuff, and get like nerfs and stuff. So being online might be really good for someone, and being LAN might be really like better for someone else. So I think it's all about just to the individual guy, but I still feel like the online period is something that I don't think you can take that much away from people, from the teams that played good, because like you will still have to beat the best teams in the world, even though it's online.
Since you guys won Flashpoint 1 with AcilioN, and that was actually when he'd just come in to replace HUNDEN, like we're talking about earlier, and he's another person that's pretty well known throughout these years. He's also been in Tier 2 and Tier 3 a billion times. I'm sure he's probably still playing now with some team, right? What did he bring to Mad Lions, and how was it different from HUNDEN?
So AcilioN is a guy that he personally, when he was like I think personally he's like a lot. He doesn't have like that kind of filter where you're like, what, like, why did you do this, or like why, like he was just like, don't do this, like it's fucking weird, or like it's stupid, don't do this, like, and then like he doesn't have that filter, and some people don't like that. Like for me, I don't mind, like I don't care. It's for me, it's a game. I need to get good at it, and like whatever's going on in the team, like of course if it's like full raging at you and like flaming at you, and then like then like it's obviously not okay. But like at that point, it was like for me it was fine, but like, not everyone can deal with a guy who says things very directly to you, and kind of like takes it like as like an aggressive thing, even though that's just how he is. And some players couldn't take that, and then we ended up getting HooXi instead, I think, at some point.
Yes.
And Refresh, yeah. But yeah, in general he was like a really good. I think he was a really good in-game leader. Like for me at least, as an AWP, he put a lot of thought into how I should play the AWP, and tried to set me up, or not like set me up, but like he gave me the space to actually to make me able to set up myself. So if I had the space, I could just take initiative and do this peak, and then if I said I would do something, then he would like adapt around to whatever I was doing. And if you have an AWP that's capable of that, I think that's the way you should do it as a team, because the AWP is just such a good weapon that you cannot like just put him in the back, like behind you, and just let him be AFK in the whole round, just holding an angle.
When you came to HooXi came to join the team, obviously this is way back when obviously some people were like, who the fuck's HooXi? But he had been at like tier 2 as well. Like now obviously everyone knows who he is and it's a big deal. And in fact, ironically, that ended up being something to do with the RMR obviously in this case. But if we go back to that time when he joined Mad Lions, who was HooXi as an IGL? What was his style?
So HooXi as an in-game leader was really, really loose. Like he would listen to you. He would ask like, "What do you like on this map? Like, what do you like to do? And how can we actually put it into like a strat, or like not necessarily a strat, but like how can we make it as a round? How can we do like what you like to do, and then like make the whole team play it around?" And then he would listen to all of us, and he was spending a lot of time watching demos. Like even after practice, he was watching 3 to 5 demos just after practice, and like grinding fully. I think we even had a boot camp in like Copenhagen with us for 1.5 months on like I think it was Flashpoint 2 actually. We were staying for like 40 days or something in the hotel as well, and we were just like grinding all day. And he was watching as soon as practice was done, and before practice he was watching demos all the time. Like we would go on to play Faceit together and like pucks, and he was just watching demos and checking strats and like finding new stuff. So he's always been like a really hardworking guy from what I know. And like his style is really loose, but like he listens to his players and tries to incorporate what his players wants into his own plans, and that way to like make it make like a really good plan out of it.
At that Flashpoint too, if people go on like Wikipedia and they see the result, they're going to go like, I guess Mad Lions just wasn't good with this lineup. But like, I remember that tournament. Like one, obviously in the upper bracket, you had the game against the eventual champions Virtus Pro, where we don't have to go on about it a million times, but everyone knows Refresh made that mad push on like series point where you probably would have won the game otherwise. And then in the lower bracket, when you lost to the MIBR team, I mean, we now know that MIBR team could get super fucking hot. They had everyone just fragging out their minds. So like, do you look at that tournament as a missed opportunity? Like, Mad Lions could have won this tournament, right?
I mean, the Flashpoint 2 tournament was kind of it was kind of weird to me. For, like I was not in my like individually. I was really off for some reason. Everything just felt kind of wrong. Like nothing was really working out for me, and the other players was. I think it was kind of weird. Like the whole tournament was just weird for us. Nothing was really working out, and. We did play good. Like I felt like we had the potential to actually do some like to actually go far, but I think that tournament was just really off for us for some reason. I cannot figure out why, but it was kind of weird.
Right, I would say the period in your career that potentially was the most disastrous was this time in MOUZ spots, right? So there was obviously periods where it was looking promising, but then you were mainly the player that it wasn't even just that the team had problems. You were always getting flamed. Everyone basically just said you shit with the AWP, you're terrible. And even fucking Dexter was catching strays. They were like, "Are you obviously a bad IGL? I just know how to use him." Like, what happened during this period? How do you explain it from your side?
So like I think about it a lot, and I get the question a lot, and I'm still not 100% sure what the deal was, or like what went wrong 100%. But in the start of in the start of MOUZ, when like the first half year, so like until the player break, we were actually playing decent and like beating decent teams, obviously online, but Still, I think we won Flashpoint 3 qualifier, like the online tournament to get the RMR points to go to the major. And like we still did pretty good against the good teams, and for some reason after the player break, we had like something just didn't feel right. The team felt like we were, instead of like being one team, we were like 5 individuals in the team. Not like we weren't really working together as a team, and everyone was just doing their own thing, and me being like kind of supportive or kinda I was just going by with the teams and the calls and not really taking initiative, and I was kind of losing. I lost confidence, and everything was just going like it was just a mix of everything, and then when as soon as you lose a game and then you go online and then you're getting flamed everywhere on Twitter, and you can't open anything without getting like flamed, and like I think my whole family got death threats from a lot of places in the world.
Okay. Is it like on Twitter or Facebook or something? What was it?
Even Facebook, like personal Facebook people were finding my family members like sending death threats and stuff. So I think at that point when they were sending death threats to my family, I was like that was like not the trouble. Like that was kind of getting to me. Normally I wouldn't really put that much into put it into my mind that much, but no, like when that stuff happens, it's kind of like it's me playing. It's not anything with my family to do. So just keep it out of it for some reason. Like I don't get people like that. They're too heavily invested in the gambling shit. So yeah.
No, I'll even say, if people don't know, it's one thing when people do it on Twitter. It's still bad. You don't want to read it, etc. But like, it's one thing if it's like some gamer name or some stupid like football picture, an anime thing. The mad thing about Facebook, like you're saying, is people will do it from like their real Facebook account that they've had for like 10 years with their name and like their whole family. They'll just send you the message from that, and you're like, what the fuck? Yep. Like, this like, you know, we know we're real people. Like, what the hell? Like, it's really crazy, isn't it?
It's really weird because you. Like if you met them in real life, they probably would.
Of course,
they probably wouldn't even say a thing. Like they were just like, I'm guessing nobody would probably say anything to you. Like it would just go by you, like maybe look at you weird for some reason. But like that's it. Like instead of online, you just. I think this is how people is online. Because you feel like you don't have any responsibility online. So, but like it really does get to your head at some point if it keeps going on. Yeah, like you can't even avoid it even if you tried.
One thing I wanted to actually back up and just quickly ask about is when you joined MOUZ Sports, right? There was that weird thing where you joined and then like about 2 weeks later or something, Carrigan was like, anyway, guys, I'm off to FaZe. It's been real. Like, see, did you actually know that was coming when you joined? Did you join thinking like, I'm joining Carrigan's team, it's going to be fucking sick? What was the scenario?
Yeah, so when I joined or like I got the offer, I actually got the offer from MOUZ Sports earlier as well, but Madlines didn't want to sell me at that point. Right. So half a year later or something, they came back and figured out something with Madlines, but it was with Carrigan as the in-game leader, and I think I practiced with him or like played a tournament with him for 1 week, and then he joined FaZe. So it was kind of like I joined MOUZ expecting to actually play with Carrigan because I was like one of those in-game leaders I wanted to try to play with because he's always been like a top tier in-game leader and always been really, really good. So it was like I won't say it's like I mean it was probably it's hard to explain, but like I was just joining the team and then you just get like a slap in the face or something, like because you're joining something and it's not what you actually wanted, and it is. Yeah, I mean it is what it is, but I only played one for 1 week, and yeah.
What about this? Because obviously in that team you did get to play with Rops at the time when Rops was still really good. Like, there's a reason he got picked up a FaZe clan. But the question I have is this. One, what was it like just to play with him? But then the other thing is, it did look towards the end, because he had a similar thing to Carrigan where it's like everyone heard the rumours. It was in the press like months before. I mean, in his case, ages before. Like, they're probably going to leave. The rumour even was for like a whole year with him. He's going to go to FaZe clan. He's going to join with Carrigan. Like, that must kind of suck a little bit of your teammate. And I have to say, a lot of analysts said this. And when I watched some of his games, it did look kind of true. It looked a bit like towards the end of his time in MOUZ, because he sort of knew he was going to go and that MOUZ wasn't that good. It looked like he did like play a bit selfish and bait a little bit. Maybe he didn't go for like the 1v3s and stuff and just got the exit kills. Yeah. What do you think on that angle? What was he like as a player? Was he good at the time? And do you think it was true he kind of baited a little bit?
Yeah, I was like, we have more players baiting on the team as well.
Okay.
If you go, but
Okay.
if you just say it like that, it is what it is. But yeah, I felt like in the end it got worse because it felt like he was talking with FaZe at some point and talking with them and close to joining. So I felt like at some point he was playing more for himself and we had other players playing. I just felt like the team in general was such a weird, like it was such a weird time on the team because it was like as soon as practice was done, everyone was just like we ended 18 and like 18:01, everyone closes TeamSpeak. Nobody says a word.
Right.
Practice done to you. Then nobody would talk to each other, and it was just such a weird like time in the team. Like instead of, at least on Medlines, I would say, and GamerLegion now, we are, I would say it's more like being friends on the team and like actually instead of colleagues, because MOUZ felt like we were just colleagues. Like we just meet up on the for practice, and when we're done, then that's it.
Is it important, do you think, to have like some sort of team spirit?
I feel like it's like chemistry is really important because right now we're having a really, really good time on GamerLegion, and for me at least, I feel like it shows on the server. Like some of these players haven't played any big tournaments yet, I think, and coming into like 1 month of practice, like 1.5 months of practice, and qualifying for the major, beating G2 and playing a really, really close game with FaZe and Spirit, and I think nobody of us expected that, like at least that fast, to be honest. So yeah, team chemistry is like a really big part of having a great team, in my opinion.
Sure. Because the thing is, the reason why I asked it that way, even though it sounds a little bit sour, because obviously at the end, like you don't want to feel like your team is just bait and getting stats, and they're like, right, I've got my gig now, guys, so I'm just going to leave the team. That sucks. Because normally you want to have all the best stories about playing with someone like Robs. You want to be able to say, because I always think this, like even though you've maybe not been the best player in FaZe, you can tell even in FaZe they know he's like probably the most skilled player in the team, because it's just someone where you can just do anything in the game. He can win any round. He can win it with a deagle. He can win any 1vx, and like you want to believe that's your star player and he's going to carry the team, right?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had also on MOUZ. We had a feeling like even though he's like 1v5, 1v4, it's like the round is not over yet. Like he if he wants and if he gets the right timing and stuff, he's gonna win the round. Like he had that kind of like play style where he could take a duel against anyone. He would just like he just instantly won't tap you or like know where you are, and just he's like mechanically he's really, really good, and like mechanically really down to like small details, or like really like it's really like like a machine or something. We'll call him the robot or something. And then he was always like winning clutches and insane rounds that you shouldn't even be able to win. So the round was never done with the Robs in the life. So yeah.
Even though, as I say, people have sort of like, it's weird because I almost feel like Dexter's in like the HooXi camp. Like he's a very different player. Like, he's way more skilled. But on the one hand, people like him as a meme, but then they also like sort of flame the fuck out of him all the time. So what was he actually like as an in-game leader? Because obviously he has a very weird background. He was coming from Australia where he was like the IGL, but also like the star player of Renegades. And if you ever watched, he was the one just like dropping 30 kills all the time. So it must have been a different type of IGL, right, when you played with him?
Yeah, I'm not sure because I even played Dexter when he was on one of the Australian teams, Greyhound or something, and we played DreamHack tournaments against him as well. And he played really good. Like he was top fragging and like he was destroying the Australian scene as well as being in-game leader. And then he comes into EU and then Europe, and then I think like the way he thought about the game was like he had to get used to the way people were playing, like a lot more aggressive and a lot more like just a lot better in general, individually and as a team, and everything was just, I think it was like a punch, like not like a punch in the stomach, but like he just came into Europe and like everything was just so not the same way that he's been used to calling, and he had to like kind of like AWPer, where you have to like come into like a new thing and then like learn everything again. Yeah, it felt like in the start it was like hard for him to come in, and Robs was calling a lot in the start as well, and everyone was helping a lot. So, yeah.
When they benched you in MOUZ, a lot of people might not know this, but you were in the dreaded contract prison where you just have to just sit there like, can I play CS? And then they're like, not unless someone buys you. It's like, well, why, no one's going to buy me though if I don't play and no one thinks I'm good. Like, what was that period? Like, it was ages, dude. It was like almost like 3/4 of a year or something, right?
Yeah, I mean that was really like, I hate it. Like, I don't think I've been benched before, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. But like being out for what 10 months or something, 9 months. It was such a long time, and you're just going by day, and I think even at the start, like, because we ended our last tournament with MOUZ like 5th December 21, or yeah, 5th December something. And then we went into like the winter break, and then I think they benched me like in the start of the year or something. Or could have been the end of the year, but like it was a long time after like we actually stopped playing. We just went on a break instantly after the tournament because there was no more to play, and it would make sense to practice up to like a player break. So we just ended up taking like a prolonged vacation or like a break. And I ended up getting benched. Like I thought about benching myself as well because nothing was really working out, and like I had actually gone with the thought of like a couple of months already when I got benched, but I still I feel like benching yourself is like giving up, and I didn't want to give up because I had signed with MOUZ, and I didn't want to let down MOUZ as well because it's not like they owe me anything, but like I'd still signed a 2-year contract. So in my head, I need to stay with those 2 years, and I need to give all I have. But giving up is like, I don't want to give up, so I just kind of continued and ended up getting benched in the end. But yeah, that 9 months of sitting on the bench was like it's really weird because like every day you're like expecting some, like, not expecting, but like you're hoping some team is gonna like contact you and like start buying you, or like start a situation where they end up buying you or something, but it just never came. I talked with Astralis when they were getting Far League as well, but they ended up getting Far League at that point. They had a policy or something, if that's what you want to call it, in Astralis, that they don't want to buy bench players. So
okay. One thing I want to know about that, look, you don't have to say the number, but was the buyout large or something? Was it something that if someone inquired, it put people off?
I would say it's probably like less than 10%, like less than 10% of what they're buying a device for right now.
Okay, there you go. That's a good sort of wheelhouse.
I mean,
it's not that much then.
So
in that case,
it was very low.
If no one was inquiring, if no one's even coming aside from Astralis potentially, did you ever think like, maybe that's it? Maybe I just never get to play real pro CS again?
I did get the thought a couple of times, but at the same time, I didn't want to give up, so I ended up starting my stream, and like, I mean, MOUZ did tell me that I had to stream to actually get paid as well, but I was gonna stream anyways because I like what else can you do on the bench? Like I was just gonna stream and grind FPL and get my individual level back and just try to like follow up on the meta, because even like 1 month out of the scene, then you're way out of the meta, and everything just feels weird when you start playing again. So I was just trying to play as much as possible and play Faceit, and yeah, it ended up in the end, I guess, but yeah, let's see where it goes from here.
When you came to this GamerLegion squad, right, it's actually a team that people don't know hasn't been together that long. It's like a month or something with this lineup, right? And a bunch of the players come from all different locations. Like, if people don't know, the funny thing is, the Sui guy or whatever, he actually was on the MOUZ next team. He's like the only one they didn't take to the main team for some reason. So how did this squad come about? Do you even know any of these players? Was it just like you were just told, like, this is the team you're joining, we'll just start from square zero or whatever, or square one?
So I got contacted by GamerLegion pretty like before the Antwerp major, and like I talked with them a lot and trying to get all the details, like contractual details in place and stuff. And at the same time, I kind of wanted to wait out for the major, because if like a lot of teams like do roster changes after the major, so I kind of put them on hold for after the major. And I was clear with them as well. Like they said it was like they appreciated it because I was like open and like telling them like being open-minded about everything. And so ended up after the major, I did get an offer, but they went with another player as well in a team. So so I went with GamerLegion as well. So, and the thing about GamerLegion, I told them that I wanted to put a lot of effort into like the team chemistry. Like I wanted a team where it was like it was going to be a nice like feeling to play in a team. Like even though you lose, like of course you can't really be happy about losing, but like you still. It's hard to explain, but like I wanted to put a lot of effort into like the team chemistry and find players where we actually fit a lot, like fit together a lot in like the personality wise. And we ended up doing that. I think we all click like really, really well together. Even though I'm a bit older than the other guys, they're pretty young actually. So it's kind of weird being the oldest on the team. We click really, really good, and I think that's one of the reasons why we have so much success early. Even though like people call it honeymoon period and stuff, I still think we're gonna do good even in 3 months. So yeah.
One thing I want to ask about is obviously you came up and like because of how strong Danish CS has been, in theory, someone could just play in a Danish team their whole career. That's actually like one of the few countries you can still do that in. So in these first teams, you were in all these Danish teams with people, everyone's speaking Danish, it's all perfect, no issues there. What has it been like playing in these teams where it's not just international? I always think there's the other angle. It's one thing if like, you know, in NIP, like they're all Swedish and they have like Alexi B and S attack. That's still like reasonably in the same area. Some of these teams you've been in are the ones where it's just like a mixture of flags. Like there's this one, dude, I don't even know some of the flags when I look at some of these ones at first. Like, what country is that? All right, okay. Like, it must be a totally different experience being with these totally unique backgrounds, right?
It is kind of weird having teammates from all around the world. I think the mentality of playing CS is different from like country to country. From what I've noticed in Denmark, we play really like team heavy strats and like really like we involve each other as players, like really team heavy strats and stuff. And like international teams is more like they what do you call that? Like it's just a really individually based team as an international team, because the way you play is more like. From what I've noticed, the international players play a lot more aggressive compared to like the Danish players, whereas it's more like you just develop a plan and do something. It's hard to explain, but like I would just say in general, Danish teams are like playing more team heavy, and international teams is more like they do have good stress and stuff, but like it's more like individually based.
When you guys were at the RMR, a lot of people aren't going to know this as well. Like, it wasn't just that G2 game. You basically popped off in every single game. But obviously the G2 one was the big one because that's a LAN best of 3 against a team that everyone remembers. They were just like, they almost were in the final of Pro League. Like, everyone was hyping them. Like, maybe they're the team that's going to challenge FaZe and Na'Vi and all these people. What was this whole experience like at the RMR? Like, did you actually know coming in, like, we have a real chance? Did you know you were in good form yourself individually?
I definitely knew I was in really good form. Even though like before the tournament, we were bootcamping in Berlin and like something just felt wrong. So I ended up changing my resolution before the tournament. I was like, okay,
that's usually a cursed move, but all right.
Yeah. But for some reason, like it felt nice, and I just went with it, and like I've been playing with it since. So, but I came into the tournament being really like every practice I was like top fragging, I was destroying teams in practice, and I know you can just take the scores or whatever you call it in from practice to an official game, but you get an idea of how good you are and can kind of use that from practice. But we came into the tournament being like, yeah, it's really nice being here, and we should just do our best, and if we do our best, we'll be satisfied with our like results. We didn't expect to qualify for the major at all. In my opinion, I'm not sure about the other guys, but like we didn't even set expectations. Like normally, you would come as a team, you would probably go into the tournament and was like, okay, guys, we're probably expecting like a playoff here as well, at least, or qualifying at least. But we came into the tournament we just wanted to play CS and have fun, and get a good time out of it. And I mean, we ended up qualifying for the major and playing up to like the best teams in the world at the moment.
Right, even though it's like a classic interview question, I'll ask it anyway. Do you think that the guys from G2 like underestimated GamerLegion or looked past you or thought we're just going to win this anyway, and you know, even if we lose map 1, we're going to win map 2? Do you think they thought they were going to beat you?
I mean, they probably underestimated us a bit, but I won't say it's stupid from their side. But I would definitely say coming up to a major is like you can't really like underestimate anyone, because even us coming into the RMR tournament, we had like people had no info on us. We haven't played a lot of maps. Like I think we had on HLTV we had like 8 maps played when we came into the tournament. So people had no anti-threat on us, and that was also like a really big part of our success, I think, because we came into pretty much every map like where people didn't know anything about what we were doing. So we could. Yeah, people had to play their own game against us, and we could anti-threat on that, and they couldn't on us. So it was just in that sense, it was a bit easier for us, I think. But yeah.
Right, one thing that people might not know as well is obviously if you'd lost this game, and it wasn't like it was you just destroyed them, it was a close game, you guys would have been out. You wouldn't be at the RMR. Was it a nervous game in that sense?
I wouldn't, like, for me, like I was in the zone. Like I wasn't thinking about like what happens if we lose, what happens if we win. I was just playing and doing my thing, and I could really feel like I was in the zone, because I was taking duels against like the best players in the world, and just I didn't even care who they were. Like it could have been a bot or something. I just went up and took the duel, like no matter how many there were or something. I for some reason I had so much confidence going into that, like at least the third game. And it ended up working out. So I mean, some of the other games I could definitely feel nerves on the FaZe game, as an example. I like after like the double overtime, I was starting like I was noticing that like I didn't notice that before, that I had a really good game against them, but it was more like that you actually start thinking about it and like, okay, I'm actually destroying the team right now, and then what's going on, and then you, for some reason you start thinking about it, and then like the nerves start coming on, and like then like I did get a bit nervous on that FaZe game in the end, because it's overtime after overtime after overtime, and yeah, but like everything else I was just like really cold for some reason. I was just reading the game and playing and going by the confidence.
Even though every player in interviews always tries to sound cool, like some action movie star, they all go like, "Oh, I don't look at the names, so I just play the same against everyone." It is true though, to some degree. Like if you play against people like Nico and fucking Monacy, if they're going off, like you said about the bit earlier, like if you've played against Nico a million times, like part of you is going to think like, "Fuck, if I don't hit this shot immediately, he's just going to headshot me immediately." If Monacy's going off, he's a really sick play. It does have an effect, right?
It does have an effect. Like even like if you're clutching against someone and like you see it's like a specific player, say you're clutching against Nico, and you have to, but you have to hit like an insane shot, or else you're just dead instantly. Like you have to play. I would say you have to play like differently compared to what players you're playing against, and even I think the hardest player that I've played against still simple to this point. Like no matter where you came, he was just holding you. Like you couldn't go anywhere on the map without him being there. Like, he would read you for some reason. Like it was like he was on your team speak, just listening to where you were going, and he would just be there instantly before you were there. Like I had no clue how he can read the game like that, but that's insane. Other than that, yeah, then like the names does matter in my opinion, from at least from like the lesser experienced players. Like you come from like tier 2, tier 3, and you play against Simple, Saiwu, Nico, and like you're like, okay, they're probably not going into the match with like a lot of confidence, but let's see what happens. And it's like where Nico and like they're probably like, I'm just gonna go shoot some noobs and destroy them this game. They have so much confidence, like being like those type of players.
Right, obviously, people who are GamerLegion fans or acoR fans now are going to hype the fuck out of this team going to the major, and they're going to believe you're going to do like the crazy dark horse run and be in the playoffs. What are your expectations? What are you thinking of? What you're visualizing when you go to the major?
I think we'll do it again. Actually, I don't feel like the teams is like, it's not like we have insane teams in like the contender stage. I think it is. or like at least challenger contender stage.
Yes,
It's not like it's not really like most insane teams that is in the. I mean, we still have to win 3 best of ones, and like we did it before, so I don't have a doubt in my mind that we can do it again. Like even like I think Fnatic is one of those teams where like I'm not sure like what was gonna happen in that game. Like it's such a 50-50 game for us and Fnatic. I think, but like, we're not gonna. I don't think. I'm not sure when I play them, but like at least I have a feeling we're gonna win the 9-set game, and then I'm not sure who we play after that. But yeah, then probably start the tournament 1-0, hopefully.
Do you have, like, bearing in mind you did go through the period where everyone flamed you and everyone's like, oh, he just doesn't, he doesn't have the mindset to be an AWPer, and everyone doubted you. And quite frankly, when you were benched to MOUZ, loads of people even were just like, now what would be the point in him going to another team? This one's wrote you off for your whole career.
Yeah.
How do you use that? Like, do you care? Would you like to get revenge, prove people wrong? Are you just trying to have a good career yourself? How are you thinking about it?
I'm here to prove people wrong. Like the MOUZ period was kind of like a period where like I wasn't in the right state of mind, and everything was wrong, and like nothing was going good in the MOUZ period, and it was like it's kind of even though I played my first major with MOUZ, I still like really want to forget the time. I just want to like get it out of my mind and just delete it from my memory. But yeah, it's definitely like a time where like I want to, it's like my redemption, if you can call it that. Like, I really want to get back and prove people wrong, because everyone has been saying, like, I'm not good enough, like, I can't do this, I can't do that. And, like, I can feel that I still have the individual level to be, like, one of the best. And I just want to show, like, what I can, and, like, at least put all my effort into it.
Right. Obviously, in your career, there's been the ups, there's been the downs. Do you have, like, let me ask you this way, right? Whenever it ends, could be in a few years, could be in 10 years, who knows when it is, right? What would you want people to say about acoR? How would they describe acoR's career if it all went the way you want?
I mean, it could be nice being like one of those simple Saibu type of players, right? But like, it's hard to say. Like, I just want people to actually, when I'm done playing CS, like actually remember my name for like just doing something pretty good, pretty like. Yeah, I don't know. I want people to remember my name when I'm done with CS, and then get my, like, could be nice winning a major at some point. I think that's the goal.
Right, at the end of this interview, do you have any final message, or is there someone you want to thank or say hello to?
I mean, I'm just thanking for all the support that we've been getting in GamerLegion, and like my family has always been really supportive of me, like watching all my games and supporting me. So yeah, thank you for all the fans supporting us and sticking with us and me.
Tusen tack.
Tack.
This video was kindly supported by Ahmed Hadjou, Hades GOUD, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, acoRs, Animosity, BotPounder420, Jensen Goh, Kovacevicd, AWPer, Pacy, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Thooorin, and as always, a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Would you like to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Would you like to ask a question in one of those monthly AMAs where sometimes I roast people? Do you want teasers to find out who the guests are for upcoming shows and interviews I'm doing? Maybe you want to be part of one of those cool, lengthy esports discussions that I have. Well, if any of those perks sound tantalizing to you, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today, where? Via the Patreon link in the description box below.